As the water rises, so does the fear that South Sudan is fast becoming the world's worst humanitarian crisis. The United Nations admits it's struggling to cope with the sheer number of people needing help. At the UN in New York, a senior official heavily criticised the country for a disaster which he says was entirely avoidable.
After 3 years of independence, South Sudan is on the brink of a humanitarian catastrophe and a protracted internal conflict. This is a man-made crisis, and those responsible for it have been slow in resolving it. Both sides continue to believe that they can achieve more through the pursuit of a military option.
Fighting started back in December of 2013 with a political conflict between President Salva Kiir and his former Vice President Riek Machar. It sent nearly 100,000 people fleeing to UN bases around the country. Edmund Moulay says the UN South Sudan aid operation has now become the biggest inside any single country. In Washington, US Secretary of State John Kerry met with South Sudan's president to discuss the latest round of peace talks, which got underway on Monday.
There's a threat of starvation for 50,000 children. There's the continued threat to life. There is a tribal series of attacks on both sides taking place that is simply unacceptable.
But 2 ceasefires and a recommitment agreement to end the fighting have all been broken, and the latest peace talks seem on the verge of collapse.
The biggest concern for the United Nations is what to do with the millions of people who are urgently in need of help. 1.5 million have already had to flee their homes, and with the fighting continuing and no signs of a peace agreement anytime soon, they're saying that this level of displacement is likely to last, quote, for a relatively long period of time. Nick Harper, CCTV, New York.